Welcome everyone to a new Let's Play series. This one will be on Aerobiz Supersonic, and that's by Koei. I think Koei is a great company. So I've been itching to get into a tycoon game, and when I was reflecting on some of the tycoon games that I've played, I actually remembered the first tycoon game I ever played, which was Aerobiz Supersonic. Actually, I think it was Aerobiz the original, but Aerobiz Supersonic is the game I own on the Super Nintendo myself. Aerobiz, the original, was a game owned by my friend. I liked it so much that I was inspired to ask for it for my birthday one year. So they got me Aerobiz Supersonic. I remember I was originally super disappointed that it wasn't the original Aerobiz, but turns out that was actually a good thing. So 1994 is the time we're dealing with here. So if we play anything beyond 1994, their guesses at populations of cities and all those things will just be well, just that, guesses. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start playing the introduction. I am using, obviously not a Super Nintendo, I'm using SNES 9X as my Super Nintendo emulator. So I'll go ahead and play the introduction, and while we do that, I'll probably talk over it a little bit. So one thing to note is, I really like the music for this game, but I will probably turn it off at some point. And I'll also have to turn off the animations. They do slow down the game a little bit. Not frame rate wise, but just literally animations you can't skip. What do I think about Aerobiz overall? I think it's a fantastic tycoon game. It's very simple. Oh, there's the Concorde. It's very simple, but it's really, they hammered out a really good game. This scenery here, this reminds me of the map. If you had these X's in the original Aerobiz, which were your cities, this was kind of like the world map. We'll see the world map for Aerobiz Supersonic is very different, but yeah, we're dealing with not amazing graphics here. You wouldn't say that these are 3D by any stretch of the imagination, but a good, solid, economic tycoon game. What more can you ask for? Aerobiz Supersonic. Fasten seatbelts. Alright, well, let's go ahead and start. I mean, I'll let the game play for itself. You'll be able to see and judge for yourself if you think it's a good game, but I really enjoy it, and it's still a game I'm coming back to 20 years later, so. Alright, we'll start a new game. This is the first decision. Which era should we play in? I think I'm going to choose Supersonic Travel. It's probably the easiest one, the highest populations, the most number of people want to travel. For more of a challenge, I may go back and do another series on the first era, which is actually a lot of fun. You deal with a lot of interesting airplanes. To be honest, I think all of the eras are interesting except for the second one. The third one is also very interesting because you have a little bit... I don't know, I like the airplanes better in the third era than the fourth era. So, anyway, we'll continue on. This is the one. We're going to choose the third difficulty level. That's just the normal difficulty, from what I can tell. And one player. Starting the location is pretty important. One, it affects, first and foremost, the amount of money you're going to start with. The two highest earners are New York and Tokyo, from my memory. Actually, I think even Seoul in this game, in the fourth era, it's dependent on era, so New York has a strong starting economy in all of the different eras. Tokyo's is the highest, I think, only for era 4. And Seoul, actually, in Korea, has a really high earnings for the fourth era as well, more than New York. So it might go Tokyo, Seoul, and then New York. Anyway, I think we're going to play as New York, because in my opinion, North America is just a cash cow. It's the easiest region to play. So we'll start easy. Oh, looks like we got some competition, and we're going to be fighting Vancouver in our own place. I haven't actually played against a computer opponent starting in the same region as I am, so this will be a nice challenge. Now, the only thing I want to do before we begin is actually change my color. I don't really like this red. I prefer kind of a light blue. So I'm basically going to steal Air Canada's deal, and then I'll switch them over to something else like red or whatever. Okay, should we make it lighter? Yeah, I think this... I'm not even sure if you'll be able to tell the difference on YouTube, but this is a slightly lighter blue than Air Canada, so you get this nice trim effect, because this dark blue is fixed for all airplanes. So, anyway, it's not hugely important, but there will be color-coded things, and I would prefer it to be blue than red. The red is kind of obnoxious, in my opinion. Alright, let's make these guys purple, I guess, since that's what we're starting to do. Kind of a deep purple, I guess. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, so we have our colors. That's the only thing I wanted to change. I don't care about the names. We are ready to begin. Fantastic. Alright, who's going first? April 2000. We're the first up. Here's our CEO. He's going to tell us, thank you for being here. Our goal is to win. Don't lose. And let's go get him. Excellent. Okay, where to start? I know the things I want to accomplish on my first turn. Just full disclosure, I did play this game for about 10 minutes before starting this recording. And I was just checking for camera, like was the recording software working correctly? It actually was not. It was putting everything into the top left. So it was just a box right here. Anyway, so I fixed that, and I also was just checking out what are the controls of the games. So I started a new game, just played for 2 turns. Everything's good. I hope you're enjoying the music in the background. We will eventually turn it off, but okay, so where should I begin? I want to negotiate for some slots. These numbers that you see on the screen, this 12, 8, 13, 44, the red means that's my hub. This is also my home base, so it'll be red instead of orange. The numbers 44, etc. are the slots. A slot is equal to 1 flight per week from any source or anything. So the reason why I need this many, 44 in New York, is because I'm going to have flights originating from there to Seattle, San Francisco, Denver, all these places, and every flight that I use per week is going to come from New York and from the place where the destination is. So if I have 5 flights per week here and 7 flights per week here, I'll lose 5 here, I'll lose 7 here, but I'll lose 12 total at New York because the slots come off both places. Alright, well we'll see that mechanic when I just create a new flight. Let's create one to San Francisco, which is on this turn going to be the best, most grossing, highly grossing, profitable, that's the word, profitable flight. And it is kind of related to distance, which is a mechanic I should start explaining. How is it that flights how do they work? Oh my gosh, I just realized. I hope that the music hasn't been blowing back twice. Let's see if I can get something reasonable. Okay. I'm not sure if you guys were able to hear that, but let's go ahead and do it anyway. For my flight to San Francisco, the backbone of my industry, my airplane network, is going to be the MD-100. This is kind of like how Southwest had 737s, like Boeing 737s is like Southwest airplane. Mine is going to be the MD-100 because of these high efficiency ratings. See, fuel efficiency of 86, repair efficiency of 79. You'll notice the other two have lower efficiencies. So lower numbers are bad here, and higher numbers are lower numbers are bad everywhere. You want higher numbers everywhere. This multiple star thing is how many flights or airplanes I have used on current flights, and this is how many are available. So I really got skunked here. Unfortunately, they only gave me 2 MD-11s and 1 MD-12. In my test campaign, I got 5 of these, so 1 less, but 2 of these and 3 of these. I'm not sure, it must be some random number. That's kind of cool though, a little random number stuff going on. But I did get at least 2 MD-11s, which is what I'll need to open this flight. The thing is, I actually like the MD-12s because they have such long range, but I don't like the MD-11s, so this is kind of the worst. The worst of all possible options is to get less MD-12s and the same number of MD-11s. Alright, at the beginning of the game, before you're in competition, we will be in competition probably pretty soon. One sec. But at the beginning of the game, you can set fare to 50%, I find. That'll still give you mostly full flights. And at the beginning of the game, we're not interested in passenger count as much as we are interested in profit. So there's my nice colors, my nice airplane taking off. I'll probably create one more flight before I turn off those animations. Alright, so why am I saying San Francisco is going to be my most profitable flight? Okay, let's not create a new flight quite yet. Let me explain this mechanic first. If I look at New York, we're going to look at the general statistics for any city. Population, economy, tourism. Also, my relationships with them. Obviously, since I'm based in New York, New York's relationship with New York is perfect. This is the most friendly of 4. There's 4 different tiers of relations. Okay, so these are really high numbers, especially in economy and population. Tourism's about average. Now let's go over to San Francisco to understand why I think San Francisco will be such a good flight. The tourism is really high, 68. You may be thinking 68, that's not even passing in school, but in this game, 68 tourism is pretty high. Excuse me. So this also has 0.9 population, 78 economy, so not bad, but the mechanic that works the best is a high population and high economy city traveling with or to or from a high tourism city. So the number one best route that I'll have in North America will be Honolulu. New York Honolulu is going to be insane because of this really, really high tourism. Okay. The other thing to note is flight profit. So the number of people that will fly between 2 cities like New York and San Francisco are determined by those numbers which I just mentioned. But the amount of profit, the fare for the number of people is not based on the distance, but the fare you can charge is based on distance. So I think we'll want to open one to Seattle as well. This means that if you can charge more of a fare and have the same number of people flying on your airplane, you can make more money. So long distance flights are heavily favored in this game. And for this reason, I'm actually going to return some of the fares, some of the slots that I have in Philadelphia. So we'll go ahead and do this. Now, San Francisco is definitely a better city than Seattle, and I've set the fare to 50% for both. You may be thinking, no, that's a little crazy. I mean, if you know the mechanics, Seattle I think only has a tourism rating of like 40 or 30, and they also have low population. They don't have great economy. There's nothing like stellar about Seattle, we can see. The reason why I was able to set the same fare, I think, and set the same number of flights per week is because the MD-100 only has 200 seats, whereas the MD-11 has, I think, 360, almost double the number of seats. So I'm expecting that San Francisco's number of people who want to fly, because this pairing New York-San Francisco is better, I'm expecting that that'll be enough there'll be so many more people wanting to fly the New York-San Francisco route that I can get away with having almost double the number of seats, the same number of flights, and the same 50% over the average fare. Like I said, the 50% over the average fare is mainly because I'm not in competition with anybody yet. When Vancouver starts flying places, which they could do even on this turn, we're going to face a few problems. But we can see that the seats for the MD-100 is the smallest that they'll be. It's only 200. So it's not that many. My typical number of flights per week is just however many I can get between 4 and 8. Usually I want it at least 4, and I don't care if it's more than 8 typically. So I just put as many planes, you need a certain number of planes to achieve a certain number of flights, and this is also based on distance. But the main mechanic that we want to use distance for is increasing fares. So that New York Honolulu fare, it's going to be the highest out of everything in North America because the distance between New York and Honolulu is huge. We can actually see, I'm using the X key to get this information mode, I guess. X key being the X button on the original SNES controller. So we can see New York, Honolulu has a distance of 5,000 miles. That's really good because, like I said, fare is only dependent on distance. So you just want the highest distance between two places. All the same stats still go into effect, like population, economy, tourism. But you can just charge more for a flight that's further. And the maintenance fee for an airplane is actually fixed, not based on distance. It's just based on the number of airplanes you have flying. So if you have one airplane flying to Los Angeles or one airplane flying to Philadelphia, although it doesn't make sense, they will have the same maintenance fee. Okay, so this is a distance of 5,000, and there's some initial cost, 79 million it looks like, to open this flight, but the initial cost is also going to be low because I think it's based on population and economy, of which we know Honolulu is actually really, really poor. They only have 0.3 population, and what was that, like, I don't remember, but it was like 30 economy. So that brings us to where should we start trying to get more slots at? We're going to get some more slots definitely in Honolulu. We don't have any there, so we will get some slots in Honolulu. Looks like they have 9 slots total already used. That means, yes, our competitors here, Vancouver, already have some slots in Honolulu, but that's fine. I'm not too worried about competition with Vancouver, to be honest. Okay, so the 2 places I think will be good to fly are Los Angeles and Honolulu. Definitely Honolulu, and Los Angeles is probably the second best flight for New York. Another good one in North America is Miami, because it has such high tourism as well. However, a New York to Miami flight is pretty close distance, so we're going to avoid it. In fact, we're going to go to a different region now, because usually international flights are your biggest money makers. So let's start looking at Tokyo. Let's do 5 slots, yes. And it only takes 6 months, that's good. So New York, Tokyo is a huge, huge cash cow. Definitely not something we can avoid. Next we can do, I think it'll be wise to do Europe as well. Okay, let's also just fly to London. Yes, let's do this. 9 months, damn. I don't understand why it's 9 months. It should be 6 months, right? London and New York have good relations. The amount of time it takes to get your slots, like 6 months for all these guys and 9 months for her, is based on the relation between your home city and them. And I guess they're implying that London and New York aren't on good terms. It's a little weird to me. So far, I hope you're enjoying the music. I really enjoyed the music for this game, so we'll turn it off eventually. In fact, while we're at it, while I remember, let's go ahead and turn off the animations, just so we don't have to see that opening cutscene every time we start a new flight. And actually, I'm gonna go back and I've been holding X down to make the people talk faster. So otherwise they talk at this pace, which is really slow. I'm gonna turn up to fast. Okay, that's good. So we're good. Now the only thing left to do is probably create one more flight. Let's just saturate all options. We'll put another MD-11 or MD-100 route together from New York to Denver. Yes. And we only need to use one airplane for this one to get the 5 I want. And we'll charge 50%. So for now, like I said, about 5 flights and 50% is usually doable in the beginning of the game before you're in competition. And no animation there, you saw. Eventually we'll want to, once we are really booming and we want to start competing, we'll cut prices to undercut other people's passenger loads. And as long as we're using more efficient airplanes, we can usually succeed. So using the MD-100 is actually really important. Now, one of the biggest costs for your quarterly expenditures, which we'll see, it's not available on the first turn, but one of the biggest expenses is your slot cost. Every slot, I don't know how much it is, if it's independent of the city or what, but we are never going to fly from New York to Philadelphia because of that the distance mechanic involved in flights. And we're definitely not going to fly more than 10 even. I will just give back 2 slots actually, yeah. So I'm not gonna need more than 10. I'm using 5 right now. I don't think I'll ever need to use 5 more. So I'll just give back 2 slots there. To be honest, I don't think I'm gonna use that many slots in any of these places, but okay, another one I know I won't use more than 10 of is San Francisco, so I'll return 3 slots here. It's one of the biggest expenditures is your maintenance required on having a slot. It's one of the biggest overheads. The biggest overhead is just your airplanes actually being maintained, the cost of maintaining a flight. But the second one, I think, this is what we'll be looking at eventually, is this graph thing. So usually airline costs is going to be like maintaining the airplanes and all that. That will be the highest thing. But the second one is usually slot cost. So that's what I'm talking about here. So let's return as many slots, especially the ones we know we're not going to need. To be honest, if I was like really trying to min-max, I could probably just return all 5 of the remaining here. 3 remaining here, 5 remaining here, and 5 remaining here. Because if I want to just use high profit as my margin for now, I won't need to do, if any of these flights are less than 100%, I'm going to just cut fare. I'm not going to, what am I trying to say? That's not the right way of wording it. If I want to increase strain more the passenger travel number for any of these flights, I'd rather increase the fare than increase the number of planes. Or go to a different plane, but keep the same number of flights. So I don't think I'll need any more slots in the near future. Okay, the one last thing I need to do is I need to start getting some more planes. I definitely need some more MD-100s. Now I don't have any... Actually, I don't have any people coming back with slots this next turn. So in fact, I actually don't want to do this. The reason why is there's a chance a company will come to me, an airline company will come to me at the beginning of a turn and give me a one-time, once-in-your-life 50% discount to all their airplanes. If that happens, I'm just going to go crazy because as far as I can tell, there's no maintenance fee for a plane that just sits on the ground. Which means that I don't have any of my people, they're all going places right now. And I've done all the new flights that I can. Literally, I don't have any new flights where I have slots. So let's go ahead and end our turn. Okay, so Air Canada, they did Vancouver to New York, the bastards. They're negotiating with Athens and Tokyo as well. And they purchased a hotel in their home city. So Cairo, oh no, Air Rome is negotiating with Cairo. Rio is going to Havana, Mexico City, and they're entering negotiations with New York. Wow. So I would just say this is the most aggressive start I've seen. The AI is really, I have one person in my same region, and everyone's trying to come at me. So, well, that'll be exciting. Let's see how we're doing overall, though. Okay, great. So we're doing really well. We have 5 cities. You'll see the one red means that this is our home city, and I think they'll be orange if they're a hub. So we have 4 that are not hubs. All right, we have a number of passengers. We're doing well. I mean, we have 4 flights and they only have 1 flight, so we can't expect to be anywhere near them. They can't be expecting. They cannot be expected to be anywhere near us since they don't have the same number of flights. So our profit margin is. This is the important thing, though. The ratio between the pink and the red. So I want to make sure this red is as low as possible, and that's what you do. That's how you. The long distance flights will give you just a much larger profit, and cutting down on the airplane maintenance, so the 60/60, the 83/78, whatever statistics for your airplanes, the gas and wrench, those are the things that are going to also increase your profit margins. So, okay, enough about that. And this is just a total number of passengers. I think that includes international. Okay, we're up first again. I kind of don't like going first. Oh. Okay, please support. Alright, let's see. This is 148 million. 148 million is about 5% of my current money. I'm not sure. Might be slightly more than that even, but I'm not sure that's a good idea. So the 148 is this 317 statistic for me. I know that there's some advantage to doing this. It improves relations. Okay, well, let's just do it for fun. Yeah. We don't need Iraq. I mean, we don't need that. We do need to be the #1 for passenger carrying in 4 different regions. I suspect that we'll be #1 in our own region. We'll probably be #1 in Southeast Asia because there's nobody there. We can probably pick up Oceania, which is the Australia one. And then we can probably also take now the Middle East because, well, we've improved relations there. Okay, but that concludes one full turn, so we're right back. And on this next turn, we probably won't do much, maybe just buy some airplanes. But since this is about 25 minutes long, I'm going to conclude this video, and I'll pick up the next one. Thanks for watching.